Okay, so today we're going to tell you some stories. These are pretty unsettling experiences shared by people who either worked at or were just visiting Walmart.
Right.
And they really bring this chilling perspective to a place that, most of us just think of as totally ordinary. We've pulled these specific accounts together to share what was described.
And what's really fascinating here, I think, is how these everyday locations, places you go all the time, can sometimes be the backdrop for really unexpected and frankly strange encounters. These stories certainly suggest that.
They really do.
Yeah.
So let's just jump into these accounts. They might make you look a little differently at maybe your next late night grocery run.
Definitely makes you think.
Okay, so our first story comes from someone about 6 years ago. They were in college and took an overnight cashier job at a 24-hour Walmart.
Because it fit their schedule, right?
Yeah, exactly. But it meant they were often the only cashier working that, really late shift. Surprisingly busy sometimes, they said.
Which you wouldn't necessarily expect, but yeah, busy nights, alone at the front for long stretches.
Right. So after a few months on the job, they started noticing the regulars. And there was this one guy who always came in around 2 a.m. And he would buy the most random things. Clothes, but different sizes, men's, women's, random food, toys, tools, just a bizarre mix.
And always alone.
Always alone, very quiet, reserved, didn't really interact. The cashier mentioned they often wondered, what his deal was.
That pattern, the random stuff, combined with being so quiet and routine.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that probably lodges in your mind is just odd.
Totally. And then one night, that routine changed. He comes in usual time around 2 a.m., gets in the cashier's lane. But this time, he actually starts talking. First time ever.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Asks how their night's going, what their plans are for the weekend. Simple stuff, but it totally caught the cashier off guard.
And what was his, demeanor?
Well, the account says he looked really tired. Hair was greasy, kind of unkempt, but his eyes were, super wide open. Made the cashier wonder if he was, maybe on something.
Right. That combination is unsettling.
Yeah.
Tired but wired.
Yeah. So he pays, thanks them, leaves. Seems like maybe just a weird one-off interaction.
Yeah. Except it wasn't.
Not at all. So hours later, at 6 a.m., the cashier clocks out. Sun's just starting to come up. Parking lot's mostly empty.
A kind of gray, quiet time.
Exactly. And as they're walking to their car, they see another car parked right next to theirs. Engine's running.
Oh, no.
And as they get closer, it's the same man. He gets out of his car. Looks even more tired now, but he smiles at the cashier.
Just standing there waiting. That's, very creepy.
Super creepy. The cashier just says hi, trying to play it cool, and goes get in their car. But the man doesn't just stand there. He walks around the car, follows him right to the driver's side door.
Closing the...
Yeah. The cashier says something like, gotta go home, see you tomorrow. Trying to brush him off. He doesn't say anything back. Just keeps smiling, staring.
That silence is terrifying.
And then, as the cashier opens their car door, he grabs their arm really tight.
And the smile.
Gone. Just gone. He forces the cashier out from the car door and starts pulling them, physically pulling them towards his car.
Oh my God, a straight up abduction attempt.
Totally. The account says they started yelling immediately, fighting back, kicking. They actually managed to push him down before he dragged them more than a few feet.
Adrenaline must have kicked in.
Must have. They scrambled into their own car, locked the doors, and just peeled out of there, watching the mirrors the whole way.
I would be too. Did they go straight home?
No. They didn't want to lead him there, maybe. They parked at a McDonald's nearby and called the police.
Smart move.
Police came, investigated, got the CCTV footage from inside the store, the parking lot.
Yeah.
They had clear images.
So they caught him.
Well, that's the thing. After a few weeks, the police apparently hadn't identified him, and the cashier. They never saw him again after that night.
Wow. So he just vanished.
Seems like it. And the source mentions how sick they felt afterwards, thinking about all those random items he bought. Were they for other victims?
That's a horrible thought to live with.
Right. Feeling lucky to escape, but also terrible, maybe they could have stopped him later. They even said part of them hoped he would come back so they could, do something.
That's heavy. A real mix of trauma and maybe guilt, even though it wasn't their fault at all.
Exactly. And they eventually lost that job anyway when the store stopped being 24 hours because of COVID. But 6 years later, still hoping he got caught somehow.
What really stands out there is just how quickly it escalated. From a weird but seemingly harmless interaction inside to a full-blown physical attack outside. Shows that vulnerability in places we think are safe.
Definitely. Okay, moving to the second story. This one's from someone who took an overnight stocking job about 2 years ago.
Similar motivation, right? Avoid the daytime customer rush.
Yeah, work when the store is closed seems quieter. But they mentioned the store was huge, massive. So you're covering a lot of ground, often alone, or maybe with just one or two other people scattered around.
Right, that sense of isolation even when others are technically there.
So this happened only a week or two after they started. They're alone in an aisle, just focused on stocking shelves, head down, working. And suddenly, a tap on the shoulder. A man behind them.
Startles you, I bet. Middle of the night, closed store.
For sure. But the man just politely asks where the bathroom is. So the stalker tells him. And the first thought is, oh, he must be a new hire. Because the store's closed, right? And they had been hiring.
Makes sense. A reasonable assumption in the moment. You try to rationalize it.
Totally. So the stalker finishes their aisle, moves to the next one, and then man comes back.
Oh.
He's just standing at the end of the aisle the stalker's now working in. Gives this awkward little wave, looks kind of nervous, maybe uneasy.
Okay, that's starting to feel a bit stranger.
Yeah. So the stalker asks, hey, do you need something else? Still thinking, maybe he's a new guy who messed up and is scared to ask a manager.
Right. Trying to be helpful.
And the guy sort of stutters, can you help me?
The stuttering, the nervousness adds to the weirdness now.
Definitely. So the stalker agrees. They start walking together towards the front of the store. And as they're walking, they pass another coworker. And this coworker gives the stalker this really funny look.
Ah, the reality check from someone else. Like, who is this guy with you?
Exactly. That look. The stalker said that's when the alarm bells really started going off. Like, wait a minute, this isn't right.
That shared glance, that nonverbal cue can be so powerful.
It was. So they get to the front of the store near the service desk. And the man stops, points to the other side of the counter, and says, it's right here if you could just reach it for me.
Vague request.
Super vague. But the stalker leans over the counter to see what he's pointing at, and that's when they feel it. This sudden, dull object pressed into their back.
Oh, God, there it is. The turn.
Yeah. Instantly, the guy grabs him aggressively, holds him down, tells him, be quiet. The stalker realized, it felt like a gun barrel. Just went numb with fear, they said.
Absolutely terrifying in that huge empty space.
He demands they open the cash register. The stalker tries to explain, look, I'm just an overnight stalker. I don't have keys. I don't have codes. I can't open it.
But the guy doesn't believe him.
Gets more aggressive. And just then, another employee happens to walk by. The man yells at that employee, you! Open the register. And the stalker said this other employee looked just as terrified as they felt.
The situation is escalating, involving more people.
So the stalker, thinking fast maybe, says, look, okay, I'll call the manager. They can open it. Just don't do anything, please. The man actually agrees.
A moment of de-escalation, maybe?
Sort of. As the stalker reaches for the store phone, ostensibly to call the manager, the other employee just bolts, makes a sudden run for it.
Wow, brave move, or desperate.
Probably both. And it seemed to totally throw the man off guard. He shoves the stalker hard against the counter, knocked the wind out of him, they said, and then he just runs. Takes off across the store and gets away.
He didn't chase the other employee?
No, he just fled. So the stalker, catching their breath, stays put and calls 911.
Thank goodness everyone was okay physically.
Yeah, everyone was physically unharmed, and this time there was a resolution. The store cameras got everything. Clear footage of him hiding before the store closed, clear shot of his face during the confrontation.
So they caught him this time?
They did. He was identified and arrested later. And here's a really interesting detail from the source.
Yeah.
The gun. It wasn't real. It was a fake, like a toy gun or something, that he had spray painted black.
Wow. But it felt completely real to the stalker in that moment. The threat was absolutely real.
Exactly. It didn't matter that it was fake. The fear was genuine. The stalker apparently still works there, feels closer to their coworkers now, maybe, but
still looking over their shoulder.
Yeah. Still feels nervous, stays alert, always wondering if someone else could be hiding somewhere in that huge store, unnoticed.
That really raises the question, doesn't it? How the environment itself, that vast empty space at night, feeds into that vulnerability, that fear, even when help might technically be nearby.
Yeah.
And the fake gun detail. Fascinating.
It really is. Okay, our third and final story tonight. This one shifts perspective. It's from a customer.
Okay.
He's a single dad, working 2 jobs, juggling kids. Had to make a late run to Walmart one night just before they closed. Store shut at 11 p.m. He got there maybe 10:25, 10:30.
Okay, minute close.
Yeah. And he says he hated being that customer, rushing in at the last minute. But he had literally nothing for his kids' lunches the next day, so he had to go get food.
Totally understandable. Been there.
So he's in the frozen food aisle looking for quick meals. After maybe a minute, he gets that feeling, like someone's watching him.
That prickly feeling on the back of your neck.
Exactly. He looks up, and there's this guy. He described him as creepy looking on the other side of the aisle. And whenever the customer looked at him, the guy would quickly look away. But it was like super obvious he was staring.
Playing that weird game of pretending not to look while clearly looking.
Yeah, unsettling.
The customer grabs a few boxes, moves to the next aisle over, trying to just, get away. But the guy follows him.
Oh, great. Okay, so now it's definite.
Yeah. The customer said he watched the guy pretend to browse stuff, but he was clearly just keeping tabs, checking if the customer was still watching him. Describe the guy as maybe late 40s, wearing a heavy jacket and a hat, even though it wasn't cold.
The jacket and hat, trying to obscure his appearance maybe, adds another layer of unease.
Right, so the customer decides to kind of confront him, but subtly. Just looks at him and asks, "You good?" Hoping, the guy would get the hint and back off. Did it work?
It seemed to. The man immediately turned and walked away fast, didn't even look back. So the customer thought, okay, maybe he just scared him off. Just another weirdo you sometimes see at Walmart, right? Tried to just shake it off.
Easy to rationalize after they leave. You want to believe it's over.
He finished his shopping quick, went through self-checkout, kept looking around, but didn't see the guy again. Left the store.
Okay. But I have a feeling that's not the end of it.
You're right. It wasn't. He gets out of the parking lot. It's dark, not the best lighting out there.
Yeah.
And even from a distance, something looks wrong with his car.
Oh, no. Not the car.
He walks up and, scratches, big dents all over it. 2 of the windows completely shattered.
Oh, my God. While he was inside for just a few minutes.
Just those few minutes shopping. He's standing there, just in shock, staring at the damage. And then he hears footsteps. Running. Coming up fast behind him.
No! They were waiting for him.
He spins around, and there are 2 men rushing him. One of them is holding a metal pipe.
2 of them. Not just the guy from inside.
2. He said he instinctively fumbled for his keys, thinking maybe he could get in the car, but realized instantly, with the window smashed, it wasn't safe and would take too long.
Right, bad idea.
So instead he just ran, turned and bolted back towards the store entrance as fast as he possibly could.
Good instinct. Get back to somewhere with lights, people, cameras, hopefully.
The chase actually stopped pretty quickly once he got near the doors. He watched from the entrance. The men didn't follow him all the way. They just went back and started beating on his car more with a pipe before jumping into a nearby truck and speeding off.
Wow. So they vandalized it, then tried to ambush him, then damaged it more when he got away. That's aggressive and terrifying.
Totally terrifying. Okay. He called 911, of course. Mm-hmm. They helped him deal with the car situation, gave him a ride home. But initially, nothing could really be done about finding the attacker.
That leaves it first.
Not immediately. But then, about a month later, something very similar happened to someone else. Different Walmart, but nearby, just a few miles away. Same kind of scenario. Well, according to the source, this second victim was apparently armed. And they managed to actually detain one of the attackers until police arrived.
Ooh, okay.
And that led to the arrest of both men involved.
So they got them. Was it connected to the first incident?
Yes. The customer from our story, the dad, he recognized one of the men arrested. It was the same guy who'd been staring at him, following him, inside the store that night.
Unbelievable. So the creepy feeling inside was directly connected to the attack outside.
Directly. And apparently when questioned, neither man gave any real reason for doing it. No clear motive. The customer just concluded they were, in his words, sick people.
That lack of motive is almost scarier sometimes, isn't it? Just random, senseless aggression. This story really shows how that uneasy feeling inside can escalate and literally follow you out the door. The danger isn't just contained within the store walls.
Absolutely not. So we've heard 3 really different, really unsettling accounts tonight. An attempted abduction, a terrifying robbery attempt during a closed shift, and a customer being actively targeted, stalked, and attacked.
And while the details are different, the core feeling is similar. These are moments where very ordinary places, ordinary situations suddenly became scenes of real fear, real danger.
Yeah.
They really highlight how vulnerable we can feel in public spaces, especially maybe late at night, or when we encounter people who just intend harm, sometimes for reasons we can't even understand.
Right.
So thinking about these experiences we've just talked through, that weird behavior that comes before an attack, that feeling of being watched, the randomness of it all sometimes, how danger can spill out from one place to another.
Yeah.
How does hearing this maybe change how you, listening now, approach your surroundings, even in places you know really well, especially if you're alone or it's late?
It's a sobering thought, isn't it?
It is. It makes you consider just how much awareness we might actually need, even when we feel pretty safe.
Well, thank you for joining us as we shared these stories from the sources provided.
Yeah, thanks for listening. See you next time.
Definitely. And hey, if you found these stories, compelling or maybe just unnerving, please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Horror Docs. We'd really appreciate it.